Well, I already had this meeting planned with Larry, and then last night, Elon Musk gave us enough content for about a year. So I immediately got on the what do you call it? The Twitter direct mail with Larry and said, Larry, we've got a completely new program for tomorrow morning. He says, yeah, no kidding. Larry, glad to have you here.
Very glad to be here on a day like today after, Elon's live tweet or live X broadcast yesterday. What a blowaway moment, And, here's the great thing, Randy. Nobody will know about it.
10,000 people were watching.
No, a million people have seen the video already.
A million.
As of 2 hours ago, I was driving out here. The count was 1 million. I saw Brad Ferguson tweet X that.
Yes.
Posted that.
Posted.
Supposed to say now. Yeah.
Formerly known as Twitter.
He posted on X that 1 million people have seen it. Or actually, it was Sawyer who posted it. But nevertheless, 1 million people have seen it. But that's a very small community. It's really just us Tesla investors that really know what's happening here.
Yeah, and out of 8 people on the planet, that's not very many.
Yeah, well, I've already made a decision that over the next couple of weeks, I'm going to be committing a further $2 million in Tesla stock.
Wow. Based on that.
I'm fairly concentrated already. And, there's a lot of hype going on around NVIDIA, which, rightfully so. I mean, NVIDIA is clearly a blowaway opportunity. But despite that, I've been talking about FSD coming along between 1 and 3 years' time. What I saw yesterday and what I heard from Alaswamy in that video he did about the foundation model, I'm going to collapse that time cycle. I've already collapsed that time cycle in my head to about a year. Well, that kind of speeds everything.
Yeah.
That speeds up everything. First, FSD rate of adoption. Secondly, robotaxi. I think the robotaxi is going to be a slightly longer story because there's the commercial adoption, there's the regulatory adoption, and then there's the global rollout, and there's a lot of we don't know what Tesla's plan is for that. So I'm not really as focused yet on what the robotaxi implications are. But nonetheless, what I saw yesterday, I'm definitely going to raise my ante on Tesla stock, particularly while it's still at these levels.
And by the way, folks, this is not investment advice. Do your own.
No, don't do what I do. Whatever you do, don't do what I do.
So the first thing that came to my mind last night while I was listening to this, and I was on from the very beginning, an hour and a half before Elon came on, one of the very first things that came to my mind was the utter transparency of this man.
It's so hard to credit.
We're sitting there on X in a space with about 1,600 other people waiting for Elon to show up for this 4 o'clock meeting. And what was supposed to be 4 o'clock California time, somebody gets on the DM with him. One of the guys in the room has his DM, gets on the DM with him and says, "Hey, Elon, where are you?" "I'm still coming. We're still going to do this." "Oh, now I'm on a freeway. It would be boring. But in 10 minutes, I'll be off the freeway and in Palo Alto, and then we could start." And then he just sits there and has this conversation with us about all aspects of what's going. Who else? Never. Not in my lifetime. I've never seen anybody else do anything like that.
The company. You know who almost is there is Jim Farley.
He's close.
He's all, and he's modeling himself in a way, he's modeling his behavior in a way. He's not modeling himself because he's a very unique character. He's, I admire him immensely. He's honest. He's telling it the way it is. And he's working real hard at trying to transform this monster. And it's a monster. I mean, there's no doubt about it. It's a huge monster. But he's working really hard at making it right. But anyway, back to Elon. It is such a breath of fresh air. It is just so amazing. I mean, unbelievable. Unbelievable.
And Larry, to you again goes such huge amounts of credit. Is Jim Farley already on the phone with Elon after that video? Amping up or increasing or pushing forward the decision to put FSD on Fords? I mean, holy mackerel.
Well, that's one of the reasons that I want to make this step up in my Tesla investment. I mean, it's not in my situation, not such a gigantic one, but it's meaningful. I think that the opportunity is far beyond just Tesla, FSD, and Tesla robotaxi. I think this becomes foundational to the industry. It becomes foundational to how we are going to do ride sharing and how we're going to be doing transportation in the future, because this is a huge breakthrough. We have to trust that it's really happening. I do. We have to believe Elon. I do. I'm a great believer in Elon. Being able to work miracle, be able to transform the impossible into the late. I'm a great believer in that, and so far it's been true.
So for me last night, besides the transparency, the technology, there was two pieces for me that struck me. And I'm a layman. I'm a layman compared to you because you're like a software expert. And
just let me clarify that, because I've been called that before and it's incorrect.
Oh, okay.
I know quite a lot about software, but I am not somebody who gets his hands very dirty on code. I have coded and can code. That's not my skill set. For that, there are several of us and several members of the community that are light years ahead of me. My skill set is being able to transform the conceptual into the business opportunity, and to understand what the conceptual can translate to in terms of use case and usage. So there's a very big difference. I pride myself in some understanding of the technology, but I'm not a technologist. Does that make sense to you?
Yeah, that makes sense. And by the way, that would be maybe how I would describe my own capabilities as an entrepreneur, except that when it comes to things that are involved in the computer itself, in the software and the programming, it's like it's kind of like my partner used to say, how do they fly? Watching a billion-ton airplane land. Anyway, the two things that struck me were, number one, that there's no more hard coding, no more, and this is two parts of one thing, no more hard coding, no more labeling. That this is 100% taking in the visual content and learning from the visual content. It's kind of mind-blowing.
It is. And you don't have to be a software expert to understand just how important that is. I mean, we have all begun to understand the importance of GPT-3, etc.
Right.
So, we're beginning to understand the notion of these models, of the power of these models that don't use neural nets, that don't, that don't depend upon that depend upon training, but don't depend upon these formal structures. But I don't think any of us imagined that it could be done visually. Although I think once you've made once we understand it, then the relationship or the transition, the journey from the one to the other is pretty clear.
Yeah, in other words, it's one of those cases again where looking forward, it seems it's unimaginable. Looking backwards, you're like, oh yeah, I get it.
Yeah. Why didn't we understand that all the time? Yeah, so it is truly astonishing, the moment we're living through.
Then the second, then
Yeah.
the second part was that it's end to end. And that was the part where I guess I hadn't quite even thought about it conceptually at all. That in fact, it is controlling the steering, the accelerator, the brake, as opposed to having any of that hardwired or hard coded. It is literally also training itself to do that based on the information that it's in its vision. Elon kept saying,
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know that there isn't code between the model and the actual instruction. I'm pretty sure there is some code. But that aside, the notion of being able to train from vision, I keep thinking about the previous head of self-driving, whose name escapes me now. I'm having a senior moment.
not you too.
He did a lecture back in 2020 about software 2.0, and he had this box, and he showed, this is all software 1.0, and this little corner here is being eaten away by software 2.0, which is, machine learning. I guess we used to call it, well, never mind, it's machine learning. And he showed a bigger bite, saying that we're now taking this to this level because we've got neural net upon neural net upon neural net, transform upon neural net. At that point, it was neural net upon neural net. Well, what we're saying now is that that box is pretty much completely occupied by machine learning.
Yeah.
And so, we call it AI. Probably for the first time in history, we are really getting to AI. Now, it's not yet general AI, but Elon says this is the path forward to generalized AI, and that he's fairly confident of it. I've just learned to believe him when he talks.
So then the implication, kind of what you're saying, the implication on top of just the FSD implication, and I'm going to have, just for everybody to understand, I'm going to be having Scott on later today. Scott and I are going to talk about the implications for Optimus, which are obvious, but we still need to go deeply into what the implications are for Optimus. And then I'm going to have Brian Wang on either Sunday night or Monday mornings, or Monday, I'm sorry, not Monday morning, because that's my after the bell show, but later in the day, Monday is the most probable time. He and I are going to talk about the implications for DOJO, the implications of the electricity shortage, which is a specialization for Brian. So all of these things are huge. These all came out of that one conversation with Elon. But going back to the kind of the generalized idea.
Just to put that into perspective for a moment. Yes, that got our attention. What he did yesterday got our attention, but he's been prepping us for it for some months now. And, you know, there are those who are skeptical amongst us. And there are those who are not that skeptical amongst us, but you know, been listening to him, been thinking about it. But man, yesterday, you know, if that really is all by training, 100% by training on a single foundational model, the power of that is awesome. Now, I will warn you, it's not going to be smooth sailing. Yeah, he had one intervention yesterday. Truthfully, I wouldn't consider the drive that they took yesterday as, you know, a really rigorous test. I would say it's a test.
Downtown Delhi would be a New Delhi. I'm sorry, whatever they call it.
Well, it's not going to be that easy in Delhi, even with stuff. But I would say that there's a, you know, there are probably several iterations to go, and one of the biggest tests is, can I ever get out of my neighborhood?
Yeah.
Because, you know, by the way, I drove what will probably be the final release of version 11. I got it yesterday, and I drove it this morning to and from Tesla. I took my car into Tesla service in advance of my long trip. I had some minor things to fix. And it's pretty darn good. It's pretty darn good. It's not perfect. It's still got some of the same problems, but it cannot get out of my neighborhood.
Yes, you mentioned that before. Yes.
So whether the new version will be able to get out of my neighborhood, version 12 will be able to get out of my neighborhood, is still open. That's going to be a major test for me. And I think we'll still have to go through some iterations. Everybody who's thinking that it's now all perfect and everything's wine and roses, it's not.
So Elon had mentioned, or not Elon had mentioned, but we had all this information about these hires, these 3-month hires that have been made over the summer for drivers to work on FSD. And we had no idea, I don't think at the time, of the implication. But now apparently there's drivers in New Zealand, there's drivers in Europe, there's drivers in China that have been hired, apparently probably all, because they mentioned that there's drivers all over the world that are currently testing version 12 and putting miles on version 12. So that could, and I'm assuming these people were chosen and also trained to really drive well, to drive as perfectly, not stupidly stupid like a, you know, like a 75-year-old man.
Well, I would say, Randy, that's an interesting point, but I'm not sure. It's a little more subtle than that. I think the drivers that have been hired to actually test specific issues. I think, you know, there's a lot of discussion now about how to perfect, you know, these large language models. And I want to talk about the implication of large language models to the vision model. But these large language models, there was this move to kind of keep bad stuff out of the large language model.
No.
And the theory that, you know, you teach it to be good by keeping the bad out. But there's a very strong argument being made that if you do not have some of the bad, if you do not have that bad stuff in as well as the good, then the model becomes corrupted.
I see.
And is unable to deal with, you know, issues that are in fact related to what some may call bad. Now, that's an interesting philosophical conversation, but it's become clear from the actual results from these models that it is extremely difficult to try and train it with only good stuff.
I see. Yeah. Interesting.
So I'm not sure that they're just hiring these drivers to do good stuff. I think they're hiring drivers to do specific stuff, which is, slightly different view. It's a slightly different view, but that's just my sense of it.
Right.
So yeah.
Okay. So Larry, you're now going to be testing version 11 XXX or whatever the latest version of it is on a very long trip.
Yeah.
So you leave, you've been talking about this trip for a while. You leave when?
I'm leaving on the 31st next week. And I'm setting forth from here, which is North Carolina. I'm going to South Carolina. I want to see the redwood materials, the site for the redwood materials plant in South Carolina.
Huh?
From there, I'm going to travel along the Gulf Coast because I love that journey, but also I want to see the Kia and Hyundai factory, take a better look at them, see the Marshall Space Center on my way. And then I want to call on the Tesla plant in Corpus Christi, the lithium refinery, and then on to Boca Chica. And I hope to get there in time for the launch. I mean, it could happen. Lightning could strike.
Will you slow down or speed up your trip in order to accommodate that or not?
I can't really, because I have a deadline of having to be in Los Angeles by the 10th.
Okay.
That's the all-in conference. I'm going to the West Coast
You're going to the all-in conference. Yeah, I looked at that the other day and I couldn't afford the $7,500, Larry. So how come you didn't call me and pay my way?
Indeed. Yeah, so we did participate in this program where they had scholarships. So
yeah, well, I was too late. I was too late for that.
Sure. Yeah, I'm not sure you would rank, mainly because they're young people,
I see.
But
I have 2 degrees from UCLA, and it's there at right on my old campus.
Yes. And from there I'm going to go north to north to San Francisco, to Fremont, and to Lathrop, and to see the SpaceX factory and the Fremont factory and the Lathrop factory. And then I want to go to Giga, Nevada, and also to Redwood. Now, intermixed with that, my wife will join me and we'll spend a little bit of time at Yosemite.
Okay.
So, and then she'll fly back and I'll meander back. I want to go through the mountains, to Denver, visit some of those parks. She may join me to Denver, and then I'll drive back home.
Have you ever driven over that 1-lane road, that mountain? It's just a mountain. It's just, you just go up and down. There's no other reason for the road at all, and it's super skinny and it's cliffs on both sides. Have you ever done that?
I have driven it once, but not in an EV.
I don't know, Larry. I wouldn't want you on that one right now. I need you for my channel. That was the second scariest road I've ever been on. The other one is driving the wrong way out of Lahaina, which I guess some people last week didn't do and should have, or a couple of weeks ago. That going the north way out of Lahaina, that road is scary. Oh my gosh.
That was terrible what happened.
Horrible. So, all right. So that's your road trip. Total number of days?
I'll be away a month.
Yeah, wait a month. Okay. All right.
Yeah, I'll be on the road for most of it. I'll be at the conference for some and have some plant visits for some. And, I've invited everybody. I'll post my schedule and I'll post the map, and I'll also do some live chats on the way and on the way back. One of the principal focuses is going to be the charging network. I've got you heard it here first, a whole business plan on of opportunity around the charging networks to augment what Tesla are doing, and I'm doing that research on this trip. By the way, just to correct something you said yesterday, they're not going to make a 10% profit on the charging network.
10% operating profit, net profit. No,
Net is going to be over 20.
Over 20 net. Okay. Well, I'm just going off of what Elon said.
No, Elon said 20.
Oh, he did. I'm sorry. Okay.
Yeah, he said 20.
All right.
I have them at 30.
At 30, you believe it'll be 30.
I have them at 30. Dan Ives at 20% comes out with the same profitability that I come out with.
Okay.
And you know, we're talking, you know, $3 a share in profit.
Okay.
You know, bottom line profit. So
right.
that's not nothing.
Well, you could make the argument that $3 a share would be the entire value of the stock right now.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, but you have to discount it back for, you know,
right.
10 years. Mine is like 7 years and Dan's like 10 years, but we're awfully close.
Got it.
And, you know, Dan Ives has been easily the most accurate, analyst on Tesla in general.
Sure. Oh yeah, absolutely.
So he's quite remarkable. He's, you know, very strong analyst and very, very entertaining to listen to.
So do you anticipate that based on your 30%, that this will be partially due to the fact that they will all be 100% their own solar and or battery
No.
energy? No, you still think
No, that would drive those margins very high.
Okay, you think they'll still
that's based upon current rates, current tariff rates.
Wow. Okay.
Now, you know, I could be wrong because of peak rate problems. It's incredibly difficult, if not impossible, to calculate what they're going to spend because of this crazy peak rate business. And, you know, it's Matt Smith has pointed this out to me and you know, is trying to hold and holds my feet to the fire in regard to that. And so I haven't done a peak hour versus, you know, some sort of modeling to figure out the peak hour impact on this. I've just taken the rates the tariffs has given, and applied them based upon the volumes that I'm seeing. But what I did not think through sufficiently is the expansion of the network given the new bill, given the new IRA, and what the impact will be in terms of the number of posts, because I just simply took the rate of post development that they had. So there's a lot of assumptions, but I'm convinced this is a business that's worth, you know, several $100s a share.
And Larry, why wouldn't they put in enough solar regionally or locally? Okay.
Absolutely.
And why wouldn't they put batteries every place?
That will drive the margins up.
Okay.
But the question is, will they reduce costs? Will they reduce prices? All of this I don't know.
Okay. All right.
And the other, you know, I mean, one has to allow that there will be some competition. Look, there's so many unknowns and variables, it's extremely difficult, but a simple modeling shows you that this is going to be an awfully large business.
Do you assume that they will be doing more entertainment, food, etc., at these locations, or is that a completely separate business in your mind?
It's a separate business, and frankly, it's marginal. It's more around the brand that they do this. You know, Gary's argued, why are they messing with restaurants? This is not their business, blah, blah, blah. What he is not acknowledging, and maybe he's right, you know, what I know, but it definitely, this notion of adding fun to the brand has always been the mark, Tesla's mark. You know, for all the criticism they get of not advertising and blah, blah, blah,
Yes, yeah.
They're ahead of Apple.
Yeah.
In terms of the first 14 years. So they must know something, they must have a clue. Advertising, marketing, they must have some sort of clue. The best-selling automobile in the world, somehow they must have. Anyway, so I think that the restaurants, the swimming pools, all of that stuff around it is part of the brand. And that's really part of my business plan, is to add to that fun, add to the attraction and the utility of the charging network. Just remember, the charging network is not like the gas station network at all.
Right.
Gas stations exist because you have to fill up at the gas station every day. Every time you run short. In EVs, you only use the charging stations on the odd occasion when you're around town, or if you're living in an apartment building that cannot put in charging stations, but you use them on the open road for road trips.
Yeah.
So it's a fraction of the gas station business, but it's all around those road trips, and those road trips are all about family fun. And so the more you add to it, look, I know I've pulled up to charging stations in the middle of nowhere, wind driven, in the open plains, and you sit there, for 20 minutes, nothing to do. That's not fun.
So you need some fun.
You need some fun.
That's a Tesla part of the brand.
That is exactly it. In the middle of the plains of, I don't know, Iowa somewhere, I pulled up to a charging station on my way to Yellowstone, and there was nothing there. I mean, nothing. But there was a little caravan and a lady selling lattes out of the back of the caravan, and the line was there. So, yeah, anyway, that's my idea.
So Larry, normally on Saturday morning, or whenever we meet, we're more focused on the financials. And I definitely want to talk to you about the Powell's speech yesterday, about the implication of PCE for next week. But we're going to do that separately. We're going to do that for Sunday afternoon. So let's end right now. Everybody, remember now, you want to tune in later today. Hit notify, hit subscribe if you haven't already done that. Why haven't you done it? Because later this afternoon, we're going to have Scott on. He's going to talk about the implications for Optimus, which are massive. Then tomorrow morning, I'm not sure. I don't know how this is all going to work out, but maybe it'll be tomorrow morning. It'll be Larry talking about the Powell speech, as well as PCE index for next week, and all the implications of all of that. And then tomorrow afternoon sometime we'll have, or maybe it'll be Monday, we've got Brian Wang coming on to talk about the implications for DOJO and for the electricity shortages, even the transformer shortages. I'm hoping that, well, I know he knows a lot about the electricity shortage problem. That's a very great specialization of his. Anyway, Larry, thank you so much for being on, and we'll just say goodbye for now, and we'll say hello again in a minute. And to all of you out there, it's been great talking to you.
Thanks.